Women are powerful creators. The Align Women podcast features female entrepreneurs, leaders, and other professional women who've demonstrated agency and innovation in their personal and professional lives. I'm your host, Amy Evans. I have authentic, intimate conversations with my guests that highlight their paths to success, their struggles and accomplishments, and the things that currently excite, motivate, and inspire them to turn their visions into reality. Welcome to the Align Women Podcast. I'm Amy Evans, your host and the founder of Align Women, a leadership and networking organization for professional women. This podcast features female entrepreneurs, leaders, and other professional women who've demonstrated agency and innovation in their personal and professional lives. With me today is my friend Lindy Pearson. She's an advisor with Cressa, which is a commercial real estate firm that represents tenants. She's also the host of the Level Up with Lindy Pearson podcast, and she's a member of one of my Align Women networking masterminds. I love her very down-to-earth, very organic spirit and her authenticity, and I'm really excited to have her here. Welcome, Lindy.
Thank you. It's quite the introduction. I love when someone else does the introduction for me. It sounds so great.
It sounds better when somebody else is doing it, right? I totally agree with you. I've had that experience. So I want you to share with the audience what it is that you do with Cressa, because what you do in the commercial real estate realm is unique and not everyone is aware that there are people who do what you do. So tell me what that looks like for a tenant who might be interested in using your services.
So when I got married to my husband about 10 years ago, and he was involved in Cressa, so I started pretty much doing events and the networking, got my license right after, and really tried to figure out what was my niche. How could Cressa work for me? How can I work for Cressa? And how can I do it on my belief system? So I've always been a super connector. I've always been, wanting to have conversations, wanting to help, doing the social media, the business development aspect, and being with like-minded people. Mm-hmm. So Cressa is nationwide, or actually internationally, but nationwide is where we focus our business on. And all the different brokers who we connect with, they're very cool. Like very cool. It's almost like a co-elevation kind of something. Mm-hmm. And it's just really nice to be able to only focus on the needs of the business owner and not have to worry about anything else. What's best for the tenants? What's best for that company? How are we going to be able to create the leverage on the tenant side only and doing that way? My husband, Rick, does all of the lease execution, which I'm so thankful for him because I do not want to do anything like that. But I do like meeting people. I do like hearing their stories and trying to figure out where they want to go and how we can save them the time and money in the process.
Yeah, you are definitely the business development super connector engine behind that business, having known you for about a year now. And I can see why it would be important knowing you that the people that you work with are really aligned with your values. That's something that you radiate in everything that you do.
Yeah.
So I can see why that would have been an important piece for you in figuring out where you felt like you fit in that organization. So tell me along the lines of loving what you do, tell me what you wish more people understood about the work that you do on behalf of tenants in the commercial real estate arena.
I get to not be salesy, but be salesy at the same point. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What is the one thing? So obviously, when you think of a broker, you think of someone who needs space. And in that, you think, I need to move to have that space. You get a broker because you want to see different properties. Mm-hmm. But the biggest misconception is just renewing your lease. So I can't stress that enough. Don't quote me, but basically, generally speaking, like 1 in 10 companies actually use a broker to renew their lease. And the other companies are saying, you know what, I'm just going to contact the landlord. I'm just going to maybe have another 3 years. I'm not sure if we're growing, if we're not. We all know with COVID hitting, things have changed drastically. in the office and industrial and retail world. But it's more along the lines of, how do I put this? I don't want to confuse anyone. So once the business owner contacts the landlord, all bets are off. The landlord now knows they're not planning on moving. Right. Why? Because of what I just said. Usually people only think of getting a broker when they need to see space, when they want to do comparables, when they want to see, different markets and should I move and shouldn't I move? But really, landlords, they don't want their tenants to move. They have to worry about commissions, TIs, a new tenant doing whatever, TIs, tenant improvements. And so for now, no matter what, commissions, all that kind of stuff, you don't want to have to worry about that. So landlords are more apt to get to their bottom line quicker because they know they don't want to take a chance of having the tenant move. They don't want to deal with all of that. Mm-hmm. So when you personally, the business owner, contacts the landlord, it really doesn't give you any leverage. Mm-hmm. Leverage really is the key to what we do for tenants. We let the tenant know what is in the market, what is in the area, what's good for you. Even if they don't plan on moving because they don't want to, we still have the credibility with the landlord saying, okay, if you can't give us A, B, and C, or maybe it's just A, it doesn't have to be really big needs. If you can't do that, then my client, we are going to go tour other space. Mm-hmm. And it's not that big of a world, things get out, word gets out. This person was touring here and oh my gosh, I thought they were staying. So it really does help with renewing your space. There's just so many things that people don't think about. When you renew on your own, you're not getting any tenant improvements. You're not saying, hey, I've been here for 5 years and maybe I want the carpet changed. Mm-hmm. Something simple like that, especially with COVID and doing so much different setups and the plastic and the masks and the AC and all the vents and filters. There's a lot of concerns that people are putting into their space. So renewals are something that are really, really huge for us that we can help. Time, energy, money, everything.
And you used one of my favorite words with it, which is leverage. So what you do as a tenant representative is you help the tenant to have leverage with the landlord. And given the extensive experience that both you and your husband, Rick, have in this arena, you have the ability to find out from the tenant what it is they need, what's on their wish list, things that they might not even thought to ask. And then you have the ability to represent them in front of the landlord in order to negotiate for those things, whether it's a tenant who's moving a space physically or renewing a lease and negotiating and leveraging to get the best possible scenario on the renewal. And that's something before I met you that I didn't understand existed. And I think there are probably a lot of people who don't understand that there is a service that exists that can help them in those situations.
Yeah. And, sometimes whether you're big or small, some people are downsizing and wanting to sublease, but sometimes the landlords aren't really too keen on having a broker, and they'll, try to do like a sidestep, like, hey, if you go through me, we can do X, Y, and Z, which sometimes it does work out. Sometimes in smaller deals, we have recommended, let's just not worry about commissions or anything, and we just advise them it's a small enough deal where it's not a big deal. But you'd be really surprised. The landlords really come around because they do want to keep their tenants. Sure. They don't want to keep switching this out and doing and going. It is less expensive for them, less heartache, everything for both parties. But there has been times where the current landlord just wasn't budging and things weren't happening. And even though the tenant generally didn't really want to move, they moved. Yeah. Because we were able to show them different spaces. We were able to negotiate different rates because other landlords wanted that tenant in their building. Mm-hmm. So there are times where you're stuck in that negotiating back and forth.
Yeah. Let's shift gears and talk about your podcast, because I love talking about other people's podcasts. So when did you start it and how many episodes have you done?
Okay, so it started out, again, I'm gonna trickle in that business development, and obviously we've been on lockdown, like 17 lockdowns, I feel like already. And in the beginning, it was really hard. I usually walk buildings, old fashioned, like in-person cold calling kind of something.
Yeah.
And obviously pandemic happened and it really sucked. People did not want to be around strangers, and there's a lot of fear, and a lot of things going on. And I just kind of thought to myself, what is it I like to do? How can I be my true authentic self? How can I connect people? Not to be cheesy or anything, but I love Keith Ferrazzi, and he taught me this term years ago, co-elevation, and it is in my blood. And it's a behavior that we all use, that we can use to lead, to elevate, to like genuinely, like you and I'm exposing you to my audience, you're exposing me to yours, and we're doing it with intentions. Mm-hmm. We're not doing it just because of a transaction or something, of that sort. So I'm thinking to myself, what do I like to do? How do I get value? What am I doing right now to get value? I'm not physically going to events anymore. I'm not partnering up with other people to be on a panel. What am I going to do? Let's sit and chat. Let's like chat where everyone's comfortable. It's not a big deal. And let's figure it out. And it's amazing how many people, in some of the episodes that I think, oh man, I don't know if I was good, or I don't know this, or, you just kind of get stuck in your head. Like those are the episodes that I get the most traction on. Those are the episodes where, someone sends me an email saying, thank you so much. I needed, HR for X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. And like, that's the co-elevation that keeps me going. That is the pat on the back that says, okay, what you did or what you said helped me, helped process, helped it be less stressful kind of thing. But I also like to hear everyone's story. I was in a meeting the other day and we talked about deep listening, mm-hmm. and how many people have to interrupt the person who's talking because they either want to relate or they want to add some sort of, verification, or like, yes, I'm on this. But in reality, so many people don't really listen. They listen to reply, not to be there. And I didn't want that. I didn't want an elevator pitch. I wanted to hear someone's story so I know where they went, like where they've been, where they are now, and where they want to go. And to do it in this intimate setting, I find it really easy.
What kinds of people do you have on your podcast as guests? Do you have a sort of a theme or an intention with the people that you have on?
So the theme is definitely entrepreneurs, mm-hmm. and how they leveled up. So I want to hear like the grinding and the hustle, mm-hmm. and maybe like how they got supported. Maybe they got a lucky break, what they did with it. The last person I did a podcast with, I found out that he has a degree in spiritual. Oh man, I already forgot. I forgot what his degree is in, but he's a lawyer, and he did this whole sidestep of like spiritual training, and his business, because of it, has been in such a holistic state, mm-hmm. and has like all of the people who flock to him are the people that he wants.
Yeah.
You always like think about those questions, like how do you say no to the clients that you don't want? How do you wiggle through? So I feel like my guests are really entertaining the new normal, as opposed to thinking about what has gone good for them, what they've done, and who can relate to them as a person, being a person, and really creating a differentiating factor, because all of our markets are saturated. We can all perform tasks. We all know people, but I really want to be able to refer the right people. And that's how it started.
And what have you learned about yourself being a podcast host? What's surprised you?
So one of the things, just to be silly, is I never realized how many times I say,
Mm.
So as I'm just superficially, and all of a sudden I'm like, wow, I thought I said the word like a lot. I guess it's,
Mm.
So little things about public speaking has been great. Definitely on the humorous side of things. But what I really learned is all of the people who are on the podcast, all the people who are listening, which I don't have that big of a following right now. It's growing, but they're all like-minded people that I keep talking about. They have this progressive way of, their outlook isn't the way I feel like things used to be, which was in a little box. You had to act a certain way, behave a certain way. What are you selling? And how do you define yourself? I don't think it's that rigid anymore.
Yeah.
And I think people are doing business as empathetic human beings. And the more I get that word out, I don't know, it's been really rewarding. I've really enjoyed this engagement, and it really makes me question things like cold calling. I don't like cold calling. I don't feel comfortable not knowing how to flow with someone, not seeing someone or being able to read someone. That's hard for me. So, I've really been able to dig in and relax as I'm listening to people's stories, and I am creating a great network.
Yeah, you're to use another one of my favorite words for 2021, because we talked about leverage, you're cultivating relationships. You're focusing on the people that you, to put it in your words, that you vibe with, and finding a way to connect with those people on a deeper level. And I very, very much resonate with that. And I've changed my behavior to do that myself in my network of people, because I'm seeing so much the value of deeper relationships with a smaller number of people, as opposed to collecting a stack of business cards and then hoping you get lucky at the right time with the right word that gets somebody's attention. I don't resonate with that kind of marketing anymore.
Yeah. And again, pre-COVID, when events were, really, really taking off, and you had events with your company, you had parties and celebrations for different events, like religious, personal, work. You have like all these things going on, and you meet all these people. Who's going to stick?
Yeah.
Who are you going to resonate with?
Yeah.
Because you really only get a couple minutes.
Right.
I think it's after 9 seconds, your brain's like,
I think it's less than that.
That's all you have.
Right.
So if I'm going to talk about the building down the street and market value, come on, I can get that off of CoStar, which is, one of the listings. And you really have to find your party. And when I first started, obviously in the commercial real estate world, about 10 years ago, I was the young kid on the block in a world full of older males. And it really takes a lot to enter a room and be like, I got this. I'm like, I am going to connect with someone here. Don't know who it is. And maybe it's not for my business. Maybe it's so I can introduce you to this person.
Right.
But my value is going to stay. And so the podcast enables me to showcase other people's value.
I love that you understand the value that you bring. I think that that's something that women struggle with, which I think is one of the reasons the word leverage makes a lot of women sort of curl up and it seems like kind of a repulsive word, but one of the keys to being able to leverage is understanding the value that you bring to the table, and that the stories that you tell about you being new in the commercial real estate field are like one of the initial things that made me fall in love with you. Just your to use a word, your chutzpah. It stands out. And
you have to work. You have to work on this. Like it's a work in process. Like the process, the journey, the progression, the growth, and ultimately, just like emerging as like a butterfly. I mean, again, not to be cheesy, but like you start out as this caterpillar and you're inching your way through life. I also, like one of the breaks I got is that my husband just happens to have 30 years of commercial real estate experience.
Yeah.
Like rebuttals don't even faze him.
Right.
He's the best closer that I could possibly like ever want. So for me to be able to fill the pipeline with not just like empty bullets, I don't know what's called, blank.
Right. Like
actually have people that really reflect what we're doing, really with our beliefs. And, it doesn't matter if we're on the road, maybe in the RV or maybe on vacation or something, and setting aside time to do work. It's just being a part of that progressive way of thinking. So there's times still where I'm thinking to myself, what am I doing here? Like for like this particular moment, like, why am I here? How can, like, if I have an hour here, if I have a 20-minute meeting, if I have like a Zoom pitch of something, why am I here? What's the value I can create? And so that's kind of what the podcast has helped me do, because instead of being a wordsmith on your trade, you're more of understanding the intentions and where you're going with it.
So on that note, one of my favorite questions to ask my guests is, what do you still want to accomplish?
We talked about this and my mind was flooded. I didn't really know what I want to say. Do I want to talk about work? Do I want to talk personally? Do I want to talk about my amazing fetuses, which are not fetuses anymore? But yet we've regressed into that since this whole online school thing. And really everything, like my why is to travel. I know it could be something much more intense and blah, 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 but it's to travel. It's to be able to experience life and do something that you're passionate about. A lot of people talk about silver lining for this COVID. Oh, my silver lining is this, and I'm pivoting there, and there's a shift in the la. There's lots of different things out there, right? And I was feeling a little like FOMO, like I didn't have silver lining. I was like, well, what's my silver lining? Because my business is down 75%.
Yeah.
And so I am huge yogi fan, both on my mat and off my mat. There's lots of things in life that really take you to a place where you just need to breathe and just calm down and really take a minute. And it's easy to get overwhelmed. And so I decided to take my practice a little bit deeper. And I enrolled in some Sanskrit training and yoga training and teacher training and getting on my hours. And it really reflects to me of where I want to go. So your question is like, what do I want to accomplish? And personally, I'm going to answer it. I want to keep on doing the philanthropic work and, maybe take that more into like the humanitarian road of things. Cressa does things, it's called Cressa Cares, and Cressa matches. So for every nonprofit deal we do, we donate 10% of our earnings. That deal, our commission. Cressa matches that. So that's like something really cool being aligned with the topic side. They also have their own entity, Cressa Cares. And that's like, for instance, the Super Bowl. Everyone pitched in money and bought squares, and whoever won got to donate to their nonprofit. And so like, it's just like everything's aligned. Everything's like going and doing. So I would love to buy a piece of property internationally and maybe focus on their wellness center and maybe just keep with that piece of the pie for me. and bringing more of a holistic approach into business. I know you can find people near and far. There's so many approaches and coaches and so many great things, but if you approach it from what's best for your client, really listening, really taking into consideration all the parts. It's all the parts that make the whole for me. So I'm gonna keep on my personal development side, and I don't know, maybe you'll visit me soon in Mexico or something.
I would love to visit you in Mexico and do yoga with you. That sounds amazing. That is a beautiful place to end. So I'm going to ask, where can people find you and your podcast?
So LinkedIn is huge for me. I basically live on LinkedIn, but you can, any social media, Instagram or Facebook, it's Rick and Lindy Pearson. And yeah, there's my podcast is on there. It's on, I can't remember, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, something, link in my bio, whatever the buzzwords are that I'm supposed to use. And quote cards and stuff on my social media just to kind of remind people and share everyone's value.
Yep. And if you're searching,
I appreciate that.
Oh yeah. If you're searching for her podcast, it's called Level Up with Lindy on any of the social media channels. So thank you so much for being a guest on the Aligned Women podcast today, Lindy. It has been an absolute joy to have you. And look for more podcast episodes with more amazing women at alignedwomenpodcast.com. Thanks for listening to the Aligned Women podcast. You can find more episodes with more amazing women at alignedwomenpodcast.com and visit alignedwomen.org to learn more about our leadership and networking organization. This is Amy Evans, and you've been listening to the Aligned Women podcast.